Now, there we go. And we're up and running. CJ Welliver with us. Now, CJ, do I pronounce your name wrong every time, too?
Wolliver.
Wolliver?
It's Wolliver. Yeah, just
Okay.
It's real country.
All right. I got you.
It's like there's 4 O's in it.
Yeah.
Because we're from the mountains.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Mountain people. I'm on it.
Exactly. And I love it. There we go.
He's from Virginia where they don't have R's.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
We don't have R's or many vowels.
Or many vowels.
We have some, but not a whole bunch.
Well, we had Hermie, and he was awesome.
Hermie was awesome. We asked him who has the best Virginia accent, and without missing a beat, he goes, Ward Burton. It was like, duh.
Which is true.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I think he thought we were stupid when we asked the question.
Yeah. It was just so more obvious. Of a quiz. There was a right answer.
And it's surreal. Like, I've had, just sitting around waiting on planes or sitting around waiting on Ubers and that sort of stuff, just random conversations with Ward Burton. And, dude, it's surreal. Like, talking to him in real life. Because you've heard that voice so many times, and you could pick it out of a crowd based on sound alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so actually having a conversation with him, like in the media center or at the airport, and just talking to him, because Ward's just Ward, it's amazing. Like, I love it so much.
Well, I will maintain until the history of time that the best podcast in the history of all NASCAR podcasts would be Ward Burton talking with Sterling Marlin.
Just reading dictionaries. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean,
aardvark.
Guess I got run over by a bug-eyed dummy.
It's like, and the B's in the phone book, guys, and then you just let them read.
Yeah.
Listen to those boys read the phone book.
I'm in. Oh, shoot. What was I going to say? Oh, Ward. Oh, I was going to say there's a buddy of my dad's who he has a very distinct sound to his voice, accent, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's deeply Southern, but it's interesting because like his mom and daddy didn't have that accent. My dad is his best friend. His friends don't have that. It's like, how did this develop, and how did it get to that point to where it is now? It's distinctive. I won't say it is like awesome like Ward's. I mean, it's just kind of like, redneck.
It's like you run off
hillbilly,
and you get into your life, and then like I talked about a few weeks ago, I went back to my 20th high school reunion, and like you listen to these people that you grew up with who you never thought had an accent because you just grew up with them, and then you listen to them talk, and you're like, yeah, you talk a little bit different than me. Like, maybe a lot different. Yeah. Some of them.
Yeah. I ran off to college. You ran off to...
Real quick, before we actually start the actual podcast, because I know that it's an audio product, so this part wouldn't necessarily translate to that. But for the YouTube people, hey, Rusty, have you tweeted the YouTube link yet? Or
I did.
Have you tweeted a link?
Yes,
All right.
I did.
So, I was actually going through my personal autograph collection today. I was trying to find something specific that I was looking through, and I've got all this stuff from back in the day when I was a fan. And one of the cool things that I always did was I would buy a hat from a race and then get everyone that I saw that weekend to sign the hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so 2014 was the first year that I had a hard card. So the last year that I could ever go to the garage and get autographs was 2013. This is my 2013 Bristol night race. It's the Irwin Tools night race hat.
Damn, we were there.
It has Richard Petty on it.
Whoa.
It has Jeff Gordon on it. It has Jack Roush on it. I think that's Matt Kenseth. There are some that I can't identify, right? I can't. Oh, and it does have our 2019 champion on it. I did
nice.
Put the 18th there. So
the ones you can't read is probably Ward Burton. That's his accent.
So everyone that's watching now, go and retweet Rusty's from the PETM handle. Go and retweet that tweet that has the YouTube link in it. And then at the end of the show, I'm going to go see who all has retweeted it. and I'm going to pick somebody. I will shoot you a direct message,
Oh,
so you got to
crap.
make sure you're following me. I'll shoot somebody a direct message, and I will mail you this hat.
Holy
All right. Well, we'll mention that on the iTunes
cow.
podcast
Yeah.
too.
Yep, there we go. So that's because the YouTube, the PETM posse on YouTube, they're so much fun, and they talk with us and they give us content during the show. So I kind of wanted to be able to say thank you.
Yeah,
so
we won't mention it on
that's
the
my
iTunes
last
podcast.
my last autograph hat that I could go to the garage and get, because when you sign for a hard card, it says on the back that you will not actively seek autographs in the garage. So that's what, when you sign the contract for a hard card, you say that you won't do that. So the last time I could ever go to the garage and get autographs, I got those, and I'm going to give it to somebody that will, because it was in
That
a
is
Foot
special.
Locker in my house, and someone probably will give it a better spot than I'm currently able to give it. So I just
That
wanted to give you
is
guys something
special.
cool.
Well, I like the
Thank you,
way
CJ.
you said that about your hard card, because Rusty and I treat the media passes that we get the same way, in that you're not supposed to be a fan when you're wearing that pass that says I can go anywhere I want,
Yep.
like without without punishment. You just have that one sticker that says, "Oh yeah, you're loud in here."
Right.
And we never wanted to abuse that. So we walk through the garage, and I just point people out to Rusty. I'm like, that's that crew chief, that's that driver. But we don't ever ask for pictures. We don't ask for autographs. Rusty and I have never cared about autographs, but I know a lot of people that are fans do. So
Well,
this is really cool.
You know what? I say I don't care about autographs, but if you got Richard Petty and
Yeah.
everybody
Well,
else
and
that's on
that's-
there,
and that's why I didn't-
That's a bad ass.
That's
deal
why I
right
didn't
there.
give Chloe any shit at all when she saw Richard Petty at Michigan and ran down there and got a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all wearing the same pass that says we're media. And I was like,
That's
it's
okay.
Richard Petty. Like,
Well, that's awesome, CJ. Thank you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. You guys
PTM
have had
posse.
me on now. I don't know if this is the third time I think this year that I've been on here. So
it's
that's
a
my
number
way
of
of
times.
it's my way of giving back.
Hey, we're loving it. We love you having you on.
oh, you're like Professor Emeritus now.
right, right.
Yeah, it makes me happy.
Let's go ahead and get it started. Y'all ready to roll?
Let's roll.
CJ will disappear as usual for like 60, 90 seconds. You know how it is. So,
Yep.
If Rusty can find all the things that do all the things, let's see. There it is. Recording now.
Talladega to Daytona, Bristol, Charlotte, it's a number. We are NASCAR.
Welcome, yo! That's
That's
right. This is the Free Game Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 221. It's Tuesday, November 19, 2019. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio with Pre-Game Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, just want to give a hearty shout out to Sydney Lynette. And
Sydney
her-
Lynette.
Did I say that wrong? Sydney Lett. My bad, y'all. And her mother, Stacy Lett Kane, is absolutely hilarious on social media. Been enjoying following her stuff.
Awesome. Y'all give them both a follow if you're not. And she's sitting there singing this song for us. Y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PETM and join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is every cent this year, and this year's closing out soon, but we're donating it all to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to your official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Laura Henshaw, Aaron Britton, Robert Keplinger, Coleman Clam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brendan Crow, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, John Bob Les Miller, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Greer III, Young Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacy Coleman, Matthew Camper, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, and Sarah and Bari. I tripped myself up at the beginning, Sherwin, and I knew I would have to take a breath to recover.
Can't get it right every time.
Yeah,
I mean, hell.
yeah. It was, I need last week's every week. Last week was fantastic. But this week is going to be fantastic because we're welcoming back to the show after only a 4-episode hiatus. But he gave us a call, said, fellas, I need to talk to y'all. And when this fella calls and says, well, he needs to talk to us, he's going to get to talk to us. Ain't that right? Sherwin.
Yes.
Yes. So
I wasn't sure if you were talking to CJ or me. Sorry.
I
he's a
didn't know either. I
PTM.
almost answered like, yeah, sure, absolutely. CJ's the best.
That's right. CJ's awesome. Well, we said PTM PhD, and Sherwin said Professor Emeritus at this point, Senior Associate Producer and Motorsport, Senior Associate Producer for Motorsports Social and Short Form at NASCAR on Fox, at Fox Sports, at Speed, on Twitter, at CJ Walliver. What's up, CJ?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you so much for having me back. I mean, to be able to close it out with you guys, wrap up my season in NASCAR with PETM, that sounds good to me. But even before we get started, the first thing I want to say out loud, less than 89 days until the 2020 Daytona 500. Just had to go ahead and get that out of the way.
By God and all the disciples.
And where will we be watching that Daytona 500? Where can we tune?
That'd be on a channel y'all might have heard of called Fox, baby. Taking it back. NASCAR comes back home.
All right.
He's got the shirt. He's got the hat behind him. If you're not watching on the video, he's also got the Christmas tree. And so I got to ask you this, CJ. What are you drinking?
Tonight, just to get ready for you guys, and I'm nothing if not brand aware. I'm just going Monster. I'm just going straight Monster Energy tonight. So is that it's like a Virgin Monster Bomb is what my wife
Virgin Monster Bomb.
It, so.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
you need to dump some vodka in that thing.
So on the 19th,
I like being able to have my full wits about me for PET and keep up with you boys.
So, well.
19th of November, and you sober put up a Christmas tree. I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, that Christmas tree actually has been up now for 18 days.
18
November
days
1. November 1, wife puts the Christmas trees up. It happens every year, and
Wow.
now we actually have two. We have this one, and then one you can't see around the corner. That's actually the second of two trees that's behind me.
Well, a hearty shout out to Kelly Crandall because she is all about some getting Christmas started early, too.
Well, there's that. Yeah, for me, Thanksgiving is that's my thing. Because I smoke a turkey, I make my great-grandmother's dressing, I have everybody over. Do not skip Thanksgiving in Rusty's house. And for me, in my own house, I don't care what other people do, but if you start putting up Christmas stuff, that means you're trying to skip Thanksgiving. And you wait. December or the day after Thanksgiving, Friday, put it all up. I don't care. We'll go out, get us a Christmas tree, we'll cut it down, whatever. But, hey, let me have my Thanksgiving first.
Oh, hell yeah. So I sent my friend girls a text today or yesterday about when we having Christmas movie, drinking game fun stuff. And they're like, you trying to skip Thanksgiving? I'm like, no.
Like, whoa, hold the phone.
I'm like, no, I'm trying to get it scheduled ahead of time.
Right.
I'm talking about December 21st.
Well, I was raised by a self-proclaimed Christmas junkie. My mom, who's in the comments thread on YouTube, she's pretty consistent with being here whenever I'm on. So Scott Wolliver, that's my dad's name, but my mom's running the account right now.
Well, glad to have her here. We'll try to keep the language
she's fine.
Just
She's
like
as Christmassy as possible.
No,
Christmas cheer.
She grew me up as she raised me as a Christmas junkie, and then I married one that's just as bad about it. So I can't even pretend like Christmas trees aren't going to go up the day after Halloween. But we don't skip Thanksgiving.
Okay,
we've always kind of had a very solid Christmas backdrop to Thanksgiving. It's basically a 2-month holiday that's all wrapped into one. We sure don't skip Thanksgiving, but we hit Christmas pretty hard.
So that's the other thing, is that means you have 2 months of Christmas. So 1/6 of your life is Christmas. That's strong.
That is pretty strong.
And the thing is too that we had to come to a compromise, my wife and I, about the Christmas trees, and the compromise was November 1st.
Okay.
Because I feel fairly certain that if we didn't make that compromise, at the second summer's over, I would assume Christmas trees would go up. And I've told her, if every day is Christmas, then no day is Christmas. You got to keep it at least somewhat. So a 6th it being Christmas, I can do that.
Okay.
Well, happy wife, happy life, right?
There you go.
Yeah. And she's pretty happy with her Christmas tree, so I'm very okay with it.
And I see you got the hat in frame this time too. We were trying to figure out where it
I
goes,
figured it
and
out.
CJ spent actual
figured it out this
time today. CJ spent framing the hat in the background there, so I didn't want to lose sight of that.
Yep. So I don't know if anybody can even tell, but there are actually 2 NASCAR on Fox logos in this shot, which always makes me happy.
We got to take a still of those with you holding up the monster drink and everything. I'll send it to the France family and say, hey, this guy's got you.
Hail corporate, right?
Hail corporate. I get it.
Speaking of Hail corporate, so what's the deal right now? So season just ended. I mean, obviously, and we're going to talk about the races here in a bit. Fox all over the Truck Series and Xfinity and all that. But you get to take a relief right now, or has the fun just started, or is this like the Christmas 1/6 of the year breather beforehand? What happens with CJ next?
Well, we still have Race Hub all week. All this week we have Race Hub, 6 o'clock on FS1. And we still have the best of shows that we're going to be doing. There's really not much of an off season at Fox because the second Homestead is over, immediately the next race is ours, and we don't. We try to keep focused on Daytona immediately. And so, like, at my desk now, I've got the whiteboard with the countdown on it, which is kind of cool. I've kind of turned into the office Larry Mack. Like Larry informs everyone on Twitter, but not everyone that works in our studios is active on Twitter. So I write down on the whiteboard how many days until Daytona. And I started it yesterday to the not necessarily great rejoicing of my coworkers, but I immediately started thinking about Daytona, and we do too. But we have a content plan that we'll be posting. We'll be posting almost every day between now and Daytona. So we don't necessarily take the full time off. May take weekends. Weekends are kind of an oddity in my life and my lifestyle. So Friday, Saturday, Sundays we're going to be taking it easy. But we've still got cool content planned and things that we're going to be doing. We've still got some cool Michael Waltrip podcast episodes coming up. Not to use your podcast to promote another podcast, but Waltrip Unfiltered still has some new episodes that we're going to be doing this season, stuff we haven't even announced yet for 2019. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Well, don't feel guilty at all about promoting Michael Waltrip's podcast because I love his podcast.
Right.
Yeah,
Man.
and so we have tomorrow. We have we're dropping Brad Keselowski tomorrow, and that conversation was so great that they hit the hour mark and then just kept going. And we didn't feel good saying, you guys need to wrap this up. We didn't feel good saying, like, okay, guys, we're at 90 minutes. You need to wrap this up. So we just let them keep talking. So because of that, the next 2 episodes are going to be Brad Keselowski because it was such a great conversation and we didn't want to chop it up too much. So we're going to have a part 1 and a part 2 of Brad Keselowski because it was really great.
That's
Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Can't wait.
Great call. So you said there's some upcoming secret stuff. Can you give us one word? You know me. I like that little taste.
The one word.
Give us one word that you can share, even if it's the word "the," and then we get all excited. But
I really could. But the only reason is not everything has been confirmed. So
okay.
I don't want to give some hints and everybody figure it out and then us not be able to do it. So just because of that, I've got to keep it 100% secret.
Okay.
All right.
So
I'm real bad at surprises. I'm sorry.
give us the word.
I think the secret that you don't want to tell is that you guys are going to broadcast the Snowball Derby.
Ah, okay. I'm in.
See, man, come on now.
We'll start rumors.
That's not it. You guys are gonna get me some hate on Twitter now. Like, I thought you guys were doing the snowball. Like, no,
no. All right, yeah, PT and Posse. No, they're probably not going to be able to broadcast, but you can watch it online.
I
Absolutely.
heard it's going to be on Fox. I don't know what y'all are talking about. I'll spread the damn rumor. Man. Let's tear this thing down. Let's talk about some NASCAR here. Some racing that went on. Report card time First period. Let's talk trucks first. Why not?
Why not?
Something close to the Fox-minded here. Matt Crafton. I mean, so we've talked about it before, Sherwin, and like I've been, and I think you too. I've been a Matt Crafton fan for a long time.
No doubt.
No, I'm a Ross Chastain fanatic, but Matt Crafton fan. You know, big fan. Love what he's got going on. Very happy for him to win the championship. But you know, the big news. We got to talk about that. No wins, and even apropos. That the last race he didn't even win either. You know, like that was kind of funny to me.
It is a weird deal.
Even to the last race,
it's a weird deal, and so the only thing that so people got mad at me on Twitter because they always do because I always say things that are like true, but people don't like them, and it's like. You know,
I don't think it's that you say it. It's maybe the way that
the how. It's the how. Yeah, the how is probably. So it's like NASCAR has been feeding us this hamburger of, you know, winning is all that matters deal for ever since this, you know, this process has started with the elimination playoffs. So CJ, from your perspective, since you guys don't get to broadcast the play, well, you do. You guys own the coverage of the truck series.
Right.
Like, what's everybody's perspective where you work about how that shook out?
Surprised. Certainly surprised. I mean, you put 2019 Matt Crafton versus 2019 Ross Chastain, Stuart Friesen, and Brett Moffitt, then Matt Crafton has a very hard time, right? But that wasn't just 2019 Matt Crafton in that truck. That was Matt Crafton. And this guy's a former champion. This guy's a guy that knows how to win. This guy is someone that's been in the truck series for years and has built up his entire legacy is in the truck series, right? And so you can never count him out. But I think a lot of people did. But the thing is, I always think back to the year the New England Patriots almost had a perfect season. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They had won every single game. I don't remember what year this was.
New York Giants.
Yeah. And then when it was time to show up, when it was time to be the best, when it was time to make sure they scored more touchdowns than the other team, they did not. And they lost that championship. Right? They did not. No one said, the New York didn't deserve that championship. New York, they're not really champions because XYZ. No, the New York showed up when it was time to show up, and they won the championship. All that Ross Chastain had to do was make sure he beat those three guys. All Brett Moffitt had to do was beat those three guys, and all Stuart Friesen had to do was beat those three guys. But Matt Crafton was the one that beat those three guys and won the championship. You got to show up when it matters the most. Austin Hill didn't show up when it mattered most in the last round because if he had, he would be the champion because he won that race in Miami. So I get it. It's not exactly how we see this playoffs format working out. And you said something a second ago, Sherwin, that said winning is all that matters. Winning is very important, and winning probably matters most. But Matt Crafton proved that winning is not all that matters. And so I kind of think there are these people that all the time gripe about they don't like the playoffs because it's not how we used to decide champions, right? We used to decide champions with consistency. And even though Matt Crafton hasn't necessarily been the most consistent in 2019, Matt Crafton showed up when it was time to show up, and he beat who he had to beat to keep advancing, and he beat who he had to beat to win the championship. So Matt Crafton kind of went old school with the new school format and got it done. And so I respect it. None of us called it, and a lot of us counted him out when we shouldn't have, and I will own that. I was one that did that as well. But you can't ever count out these four. That's why I always say in the Cup Series that until Jimmy Johnson is not in the 48 or until Jimmy Johnson is not racing, I will continue to say Jimmy Johnson is a threat to do anything that he is capable of doing. If it's not impossible, Jimmy Johnson's a threat. Like he wasn't a threat once the playoffs started because he didn't make the playoffs. But up until they started, I said he was a threat to make them because he's Jimmy Johnson. So because of Matt Crafton's experience, we shouldn't have counted him out, and he proved us wrong when he went out and got it done.
You know, for me, it's Jimmy Johnson and Matt Crafton. I feel like they're in this any given Sunday right now. Any given Sunday, they could win. Previously in their career, I would have said every given Sunday they're the favorite. So I feel like they've sort of shifted, but like you said, Matt has proven that, hey, this is if I'm still consistent. I like the way you said it, the old school style and the new school rules. And we've seen this with Ryan Newman so many times over the last several years, and making it even all the way to the round to the last round, making it to Miami, and every time
finishing second.
Yeah, and finishing second.
That was close.
Everybody's going, what if Ryan Newman had won, had finished ahead of everybody else? Not even won the race, but finished everybody else. Well, Matt Crafton just did that. So now we know what if that happens, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's creating discussion, because I thought that was important about this, that we have something really interesting to discuss going into the offseason. Same thing with Newman just a couple of years ago when he finished second, or I guess it's probably been 3 years now. But, yeah, I mean, kudos to Matt Crafton. He ran the races the way they were supposed to be run, and he won the championship outright. Like, you can't be mad about it.
Well, yeah, go ask Matt Crafton, would you have done anything different? And he goes, trophy. I got it, so no.
Like the big one?
No, I will trade every
one person that got the big check.
Right. So
it's crazy to think, though, man. The last race that we saw Matt Crafton win was, I know it was at Eldora, and I completely went blank. I don't know if it was 2018 or 2017.
It was 18. It was 18.
Was it 18? Yeah, that's what I thought. So the last time we saw Matt Crafton hoist a trophy was Eldora 2018. This is his first paved oval victory of any kind in a season and a half.
Yeah.
And it's blowing my mind. Like, and Matt Crafton said to Michael Waltrip during the trophy presentation, like, all of you on Fox counted me out. And I understand Matt bringing that up, but even Matt would have to think, like, you're an analyst. Your job is to predict what's going to happen. You're supposed to tell people what to expect. Nobody expected Matt Crafton to win that championship except Matt Crafton and Junior Joyner. Really, those are the two that expected Matt Crafton to win that race or to win that championship. They didn't even win the race. It's just, it's so, like, if he'd have won, let's say Austin Hill's not there, right? And Matt Crafton wins the championship and the race at the same time, then I think there are zero complaints. I think there are, like, but Austin, really more so than Matt Crafton being the wrench in the works in Homestead, Austin Hill was the wrench in the works for the playoffs at Homestead for the trucks.
Mm-hmm. Sherwin?
Because without him, it plays out exactly the way it's supposed to.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Austin Hill, Georgia boy, for winning the race. Woo!
Yeah, there you go.
I knew you guys would like that. I knew you guys would be happy about that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, honestly, that was one of the first things I thought of whenever he won that race. I was like, well, at least my PETM boys are going to be happy.
My man, he didn't even think of, like, important people, like, well, maybe the Elliots will be happy because it's from Georgia, or Garrett Smithley or something. Nope, PTM, they'll be happy.
Well, and you guys know, like, and not to, I'm sure I'm skipping periods around and stuff, but when the Chase Elliott incident happened in Phoenix, I tweeted something that said, like, sad Georgia noises, like the meme copy or whatever. And I sent a text message apology to Sherwin. He was the first one I thought of when I did that.
All good, brother.
Oh, that's
all
awesome.
good.
Well, speaking of, let's move on to second period. Xfinity, Reddick. We had surprises in the trucks, I would say. What's interesting, Sherwin. So last week, I picked Christopher Bell. You picked Cole Custer. and Cone picked Justin Allgaier.
We whiffed.
And that's strike 3, you're out, buddy. But I'm not surprised that Reddick got it. You know, I mean, we picked.
He did what Reddick does, what everybody has been chattering about Larson, about those dirt guys that run the fence. Reddick did it to perfection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, CJ.
So none of you, and I apologize. This is letting it be known that I did not listen to last week's episode.
It's okay.
It's been kind of a busy week for me up until basically right now. But you had 3 chances to pick a champion, and none of you went with the defending champion.
Well, no. Listen to this.
Well, that's correct.
Spoiler alert for later. There were 3 of us. There were 3 championships, and we picked 0. Out of 9 guesses.
We missed it, all of them.
I missed every one of them.
None of you went with Kyle.
Nope.
No.
All right, I'm skipping periods again. Okay, we'll get to
Well,
that.
yeah,
when we
don't
talk
skip
about
periods
cup.
because I guarantee we're going to get to the cup piece.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm again not surprised that Reddick won. I mean, I was. Here's the thing. I felt really good picking Christopher Bell. Why wouldn't you? You know,
He's won 8. He won 8 races.
Right.
8.
Right. Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, y'all are wacko for picking them. No, I don't know. But you know, why would you?
Cole won 5.
Yeah. Well, we had been talking about it. Those top 3 had won more races than everyone else combined.
Yeah.
Times 2 or something crazy. So I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
and
yes,
I
in
did the
retrospect,
tweets.
none of us picked the reigning champion, CJ.
So I didn't tweet a pick, and I wasn't on the show last week, so I could absolutely say like, "Oh, I picked Reddick."
Of course you did.
And nobody would be able to disprove that. But yeah, if I would have been in a position to make a pick, I would have said Christopher Bell too, just because of how consistent and how strong that he's really been all year. But Tyler Reddick, man, he's kind of like an earthquake. You don't really see it coming, and then it's crazy when it gets here, you know? And so 2 years in a row, Tyler Reddick's done that to us. And
2 different
teams.
teams.
I think we got with 2 different organizations, right? So that's it's pretty impressive, and I'm really excited to see what this kid can do. At the next level.
Well, I hate it, absolutely 100% hate it for Daniel Hemrick. What a nice guy. Clearly can drive a race car. But I also understand RCR saying, look, we got a guy in his stable that looks like he's the next rocket ship. And we got to bolt our crap down to the next rocket ship.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you got to bring the equipment for this. So, and then it's,
and you got to bring sponsorship. Daniel doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So he was relying on RCR sponsorship. And, Tyler is such a good racer. Mm-hmm. He's got that momentum to build. It's the same thing. Well, we'll get to this later, I'm sure, with Suarez. But, it's – I'm not surprised they made the decision they made because, Reddick is – well, he looks like the real deal to me.
No kidding. Well,
it doesn't always translate. It doesn't always translate to Cup. I mean, it's kind of not that Eric Jones hasn't been successful, but when you think about how successful Eric Jones was in the Xfinity Series, so I think there's certainly going to be a learning curve for Tyler Reddick when he goes to Cup. But being able to, he's gonna be with the same organization. He's going to be with a lot of the same guys. And so I really think that RCR, they are very close, I think, to being back to what they were years ago. RCR used to be the standard before Hendrick kind of took over. When Hendrick took over, they took it from RCR. And so I think that RCR is making the right decisions, right? And I love Daniel Hemrick. He was one of the first drivers I ever worked with. I worked with him in 2014 at the truck level. The first truck start Daniel Hemrick ever made. I was his driver, handler, PR, social guy at NTS, right? So I love me some Daniel Hemrick, but I can't fault RCR for making that decision.
Yeah. The only thing I'm concerned with is that RCR isn't ready to compete. And so far they've been an also-ran.
Yeah, so I guess to CJ's point, well, we'll see what happens there. Matthew Todd on the YouTube comments here just said that Reddick's whole Xfinity team is moving to his Cup team. That's impressive. If that
It really, and that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to come out and say that for sure because I wasn't 100% certain that it was all of his guys.
Oh, we can spread rumors here. It's
to his Cup
BTM,
team.
you know.
But being able to go to the next level and take all your guys with you, I think that, let's say he goes and he's really successful doing that immediately, right? We haven't really seen anybody be able to translate that Xfinity success to Cup very quickly. So maybe this starts a new precedent. Maybe that's something that people try to do. Like they have a team in Truck, Xfinity, Cup that they work with all the way through, and maybe that's the secret to getting some of these young guns off to a better start in Cup. You don't throw them into a whole new situation with a whole new team. You let their team grow and rise to the occasion with them.
So let's move on to third period. Let's do it. It's time for Cup. Kyle Busch, I'll say it this way. Kyle Busch legitimizes his championship. And I only say it because he said it. And I thought that was, I think that kind of flabbergasted a lot of people in that his own mind. This is like one of the very few glimpses of humility that you see in Kyle Busch, I think, in that he internally felt like, well, the last one, you know, they kind of let me in or let me go for the championship against the, I would say, somewhat arbitrary rules that they made for Cup at that point. And so he got a waiver to come in. And then, I mean, he destroyed the competition completely. I mean, annihilated. Of course, Kyle Busch won the championship then. So I thought it was interesting to me, and I think all the commentators were saying the same thing, that he thought that was not that it was illegitimate, but he even said there was kind of an asterisk there, which that's amazing to me. I have no asterisk in his other one, except if it would have said he only ran half the season and still kicked everybody's ass.
Well, so for personal opinion, I totally agree with you. And the reason why he got that pass is because NASCAR created an opportunity for him to get hurt by not using all the safety measures that they had in place that were available to them because of cost. Daytona International Speedway, hello. I guess y'all figured it out. But, yeah, like this is now the whole – we don't have to worry about Kyle Busch having an asterisk next to his championship button because he's got another one.
I guess to my point is I feel like the only asterisk was in his mind. I didn't even think about that.
Well,
I think of him as a NASCAR champion before this.
He caught a fresh ration from – well, it's in the fandom. It's not in the sport. It's in the fandom.
Well, he's got enough haters that he shouldn't care anyway.
Yeah, so, well, that's a great point there. But now the haters don't have anything to say.
True.
Exactly.
Well, they're going to find something, but true.
the asterisk, and I'm with you guys on that. The asterisk in my mind was like he whooped up on everybody with half the opportunities to do so, and so I always thought that championship was more impressive, far more than
he won 4 races going into that chase.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, Alan Cavana tweeted something, just since we're just talking about Kyle, and not to change the subject, but Alan Cavana tweeted something from the track just an hour or so after Kyle Busch won this championship. And Alan's tweet said, as happy as he is right now, competitive Kyle Busch is still there. And Kyle said, we've been in 5 of these Homestead races and only won 2. That's less than 50%. And then Alan added, it'll never be enough for Kyle, and that's why he wins. The competitive drive of this, like instead of just celebrating his championship and instead of just being on cloud 9 because he just beat the best in the world at the hardest in the world, he's thinking of, well, they've beat me more times here than I've won. Like that's just how Kyle Busch thinks. And people translate that into him whining. I think people translate that into the Kyle crybaby memes and that sort of thing. But I've never seen anyone hate to lose more than Kyle Busch, especially at a professional level. Like, my grandma, she really hates losing at like checkers and Connect Four and that sort of thing. So she might be up there. But as far as professional sports go, nobody hates to lose like Kyle Busch. And I think that's why he continues to be competitive. You can't ever, just to call back to my most recent episode of PETM before this one, I did say in that podcast when we were making picks, I sent Kyle to the championship 4 and said, you can't ever count out Rowdy. He's a threat for the championship. So I just wanted to make a quick callback there on that.
Well, he reminds me a lot of Tom Brady. Tom Brady acts like a complete dickhead in, doing his media when they lose. Because he's so stout. Like his personality. He's like, he hates it.
That's
like
what
he legitimately hates to lose.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. So y'all know I work in software, right? And one of our, I shouldn't say one of our I have no idea if anybody I work with listens to this, but one of our top...
Sorry to Rusty's coworkers if you're listening.
No, so one of our top guys the other day was saying, yeah, that code is garbage. And we said, didn't you write that code a year and a half ago? And he goes, yeah, but if you're a software developer and you don't think your code a year ago is garbage, then you're not learning anything. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty profound.
That's like a Joe Rogan joke, like one of his bits from this last special.
I wasn't.
He was talking about the Constitution, and he's like, if Thomas Jefferson was around today, he'd be like, y'all didn't write any new stuff?
Yeah, I remember that.
I wrote that with a feather.
So yeah, it's that one to me. I had that like whoa moment, like wow, this guy. It's not that he's pompous about it. He legitimately thinks that if I don't look back and go, what was I thinking then, or how terrible I was then I haven't learned anything. And so it's not a pompous attitude. It's all on your own self.
Like,
and
are we developing
and I'm starting
our process?
I'm starting to come around that Kyle Busch's, whatever you want to call it, conceitedness and whatnot, is all in himself. And I'm okay with that, I guess.
Well, so, and CJ, and I don't know if this is your publication's show or not, but the show that's on, every day that they do like once a week where they have the driver sit there and talk to, I guess it's probably NBC's programming, so apologies there.
That's all right. Our friends at NBC do a great job.
Yeah. So, like, they have the driver, and they ask him a few questions, and they have somebody who's very meaningful to them in the background, listening on headphones, watching a television, and the driver has no idea that person's back there. And the most recent one they did was Kyle Busch, and it was his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, so after about 20 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute, I don't know how long, they bring that person in and to, like, join the process. Because I think it's an 8-minute segment. It was just so cool seeing Kyle's dad just hug him, and he's, like, so docile. And, like, yeah. But that's where Kyle got all his aggressiveness from, was watching his dad race.
Yep.
And then watching his brother race, building his brother's cars, and then getting to where he is now.
Yeah, incredible. We'll go to fourth period. We are officially, CJ, in silly season. So it's silly season time. We got a few questions for you. One we've kind of addressed, but let's address it directly. Can RCR step up to meet Reddick's talent at this point? Because you got to have the car. Are they ready?
You have
to
have the
step
best car and the best driver to win a race. Those are the rules.
I definitely think so. I think RCR has some of the best in the business. I know they have basically on retainer and working for them all the time is Andy Petrie. Andy Petrie works with us a lot.
Yeah, he's their competition director, right?
And what's that?
He's their competition director, isn't he?
Yeah. So Andy Petrie has forgotten more about race cars than most people will ever be able to learn in their lives. And he's one of the smartest in the garage. And I think Andy Petrie realizes the challenges that RCR has had and realizes the issues that they've had. And I really think that, again, we talked about it, about moving Reddick's entire team up with him to kind of try to match his Xfinity success to his Cup success. Do I think Reddick's going to go out next year and win back-to-back Cup championships? Probably not. But I think that you can look at this as they're trying to at least be consistent and at least be consistently competitive. And if they can do that next year, then they have that to build on for the future with Reddick. I think RCR, they've been doing this a long time. They can absolutely step up their program to make sure that it's on par with Tyler Reddick.
As folks who have followed along with us for a while, they will know, the PTM posse knows that Andy Petrie is on our Mount Rushmore of commentators / NASCAR folks. So, CJ, I would say this, as somebody who may have at least a little bit of influence on how much Andy Petrie is featured on Fox, please, for the sake of PTM and everyone listening and the fans as a whole, as much as we can get out of him, I'm with you. Every time he talks, I stop talking, and I'm listening. It's awesome to hear Andy Petrie talk, because of, he's got an awesome accent, but he's got a lot of content to go along with it.
Well, please get Michael to have him on his show.
There you go.
And the thing is too, we work with Andy. We would work with him more were he not consistently busy doing his pretty important job at RCR. He's a very busy guy.
Well, and
so busy, in fact, that he flies a helicopter to the studio and back. So that's how hot, that's how top of the mountain and busy that Andy Petrie is. He flies into the studio, which I still think is awesome.
Well, I think you and Michael should pick up your soundboard and go to RCR so that Michael can do an expose with Andy Petrie, because I think we would all enjoy that quite a bit.
I'll see what I can do about that, boys.
My man. Silly Season Part 2. Ken Ross. Is Ross set up for success right now? Can he win an Xfinity championship this year, or this coming year, with the 10 with Colleague?
So Chris Rice at Colleague Racing is one of the best in that series, honestly, if not the best. What he's been able to do with Colleague Racing and Justin Haley and Ross when he was in that car, I mean, he's basically taken a team that was around, but we never talked about because honestly, there wasn't really a reason to. He's taken a team that everyone pays attention to now. And so I think basically Chris Rice said in the media center at Charlotte Motor Speedway that he would run with Ross however many times or however long Ross wanted to run with them. And so I think having a consistent schedule with Ross and having him in the car full time, I really think that that's going to be a good combination. I'm not exactly sure if Chris is going to be crew chiefing or if he's going to stay in his role as competition director at Colleague. I'm not sure who they're going to put on the box for Ross, but I really think that's a good combination. And if nothing else, Ross Chastain has so much confidence going into 2020. I mean, look at what he was able to do in 2019. Ross became a NASCAR superstar in 2019. We've never had a season where we said the name Ross Chastain as much as we did by any account than we did in 2019.
Order of magnitude, yeah.
So if nothing else, this kid has some success to build on. He's got some confidence and momentum to build on. I think that Melon Man Challenge continues in 2020, and I do think we see success in the Xfinity Series for Ross.
Do you think Ganassi is trying to coax Kurt into sticking around for a little bit longer to prepare for like having a Ross in Cup? Is there like a strategy here, or are we reading a little too far into this thing?
I think, honestly, I think Ganassi and Monster Energy and Kurt Busch is just it's kind of lightning in a bottle. Like they found a group of guys and a group of organizations that just work really well and easily together. And, we saw success for the one car this year like we haven't ever seen before, really. And so, honestly, I think Kurt Busch is still sticking around in that one car because it's working. I think the results on track are enough reason for them to stick Kurt around. I don't think that strategy is going to be bad for them, that hopefully they have a spot for Ross if he decides that he wants to be there and be in a competitive Cup ride, and that's going to work to their benefit. But I think Kurt's sticking around in the one because Kurt's been really good in the one.
That's fair.
That's a fantastic opinion. I don't even know what to say.
Some people have crappy opinions. That was not one.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I mean, I think Kurt Busch has earned his right as a NASCAR
champion
Hall of Famer and a champion.
Else.
A 30-something race winner. That if he wants to race, he ought to get the opportunity to race.
Right.
And talk about a PR home run too. Like, there was some ugly stuff in Kurt's career that have happened. Some outbursts and some unfortunate moments on microphones and that sort of thing in Kurt Busch's career.
What's her butt?
And and so he lost a ride because he cussed out a pit road reporter.
Well,
right?
not a pit reporter.
It was Dr. Jerry Punch.
Dr. Jerry Punch, ladies and gentlemen.
I was trying to not make it sound like I was trying to not be too mean to Kurt on this. But yeah, he cussed out Jerry,
baby.
And so, but the thing is, that's not what we're talking about at the end of Kurt's career. And not saying that it is the end, but it's getting there. He's in the twilight of his career, but we're talking about positive stuff, and we're talking about good things, and we're talking about how he's helped turn around how he's helped Ganassi improve and helped the one car improve. That shows you that Kurt Busch, he does deserve to be here. And I like being able to look back on Kurt's career positively in spite of maybe some of the negative things that have happened.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, so Rusty, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was just going to say, I think Kurt has completely resurrected his persona.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like us.
Sarah just asked a question that I want to make sure we get to, but Sarah said, would Kurt be around still without Kyle? Honest question.
Yeah. Absolutely he would.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really think he's around because of Kyle at all. He's around because he's Kurt Busch. He's a former champion. He's, a winner. I don't think it has anything to do with his little brother.
I think the fact that Kurt has proven in every car he gets in, he makes it better. And if you can do that as a race car driver, there's a lot of things that an ownership group can tolerate.
Well, there's so much talent between those two that I often have to remind myself that they are blood brothers.
They've almost won 100 races together.
Yeah.
If you combine. And 3 championships now.
Yeah, no kidding. So, absolutely. I agree.
Great question, Sarah. Thank you.
We'll move on to this one. We've been talking about this all season, and every time we talk about it, it gets a little more legitimacy, I would say. So Steve Phelps, president of NASCAR, confirms discussions with another manufacturer. Is there any legs to it this time?
It's going to be Honda.
Is it Honda? Is it Hyundai? Is it whoever
I thought
else?
It was going to be Nissan, but it's going to be Honda.
Honda, you're saying. CJ, any thoughts or, insider information? That stuff we love?
Well, no. And
No.
because I've not heard anything about it at all. I mean, I'll just be honest. No whispers, no rumors, no Larry Mack just showing up at my cube to talk about it because he does that sometimes, that sort of thing. I think for right now, there are no legitimate fourth manufacturers looking to break into the sport anytime soon. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, because I think it could happen very quickly. I think if the manufacturer woke up tomorrow morning and was just like, yeah, let's go do NASCAR. I think NASCAR could have them ready to roll by the 2020 500 and no one have known anything about it the day before, right? So just because I'm saying this doesn't mean it's not going to happen fast, but I don't think there are any plans for it in the near future right now.
Well, just so everybody who's listening or watching now, so you know how the rules work, if you are a new manufacturer that wants to enter NASCAR, you have to apply for that whatever it is. You have to submit your process in September, 18 months ahead of when you're going to go.
Well, until they decide that you don't have to follow that rule.
Until you decide that you don't have to go. And I saw Roger's tweet or text there on the YouTube about BMW. Yeah, BMW would actually make a lot of sense. They build a lot of cars. Every SUV that is sold in America that is a BMW is made in Spartanville, South Carolina. Actually, every SUV that is sold around the globe is built in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So they would be someone you might want to target. But all of the Hondas and almost all of the Acuras are also built in America that are sold in America.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Nissan's the same way. Nissan, Hyundai, Kia, I mean, they're all here. They're all building all their cars here that are sold in America. They're not shipping cars from Korea or Japan or Germany. They're not shipping them here. They're all being made here. So there are opportunities.
So they got the ties.
There are opportunities.
Yeah. Our last one from 100% NASCAR at NASCAR_100, friend of the podcast, and said, love you guys, love what y'all are doing. So thank you, NASCAR, or 100% NASCAR, for sending in the question, asking about silly season predictions. I'm going to ask the first two questions together with a little bit of, hint, nudge, nudge. But his first two questions are, who drives for front row next year, and where is Suarez going?
Is that a question for me?
Those are two separate questions that are unrelated.
We're all going to answer based on opinion, but you can offer potentially some anecdotal, real actual evidence.
Those are two disparate questions, other than the fact that I asked them together.
Yeah, I think that's 100% where he goes, right? I mean, I don't know that. I don't know that by any. I don't have any authority on that. I actually have quite a few friends at front row, and I haven't heard anything about a Suarez plan or anything like that. But I think I think that move makes sense, right? Just as a pure speculative answer on that, I definitely think Suarez has financial backing. Why not? So I think that certainly is a good pick.
Well, so here's the thing: is what we had come up in the last 2.5 weeks is Matt Tifft had a relapse of whatever it was, his brain
surgery
deal was, and they don't know when he can or cannot get back in the car. So if front row still wants to run 3 cars, they have an open seat.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also heard that RCR was potentially going to start a 3rd car because, Suarez has backing. So it'll be interesting to see how those two things shake out in the offseason.
We're going to get and my off-season content plan is rejoicing for all of this potentially huge, silly season news that I think we're going to get before the new year hits. I really think we're going to get a lot of big headlines between now and January 1. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, the RCR is going to have to start building cars now if they want to start a 3rd car for the 500.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest thing
they can absolutely get those built, I think.
Oh yeah, well, I mean they can bring out second cars that they've already built, but probably the easier, the more simpler fit would be Suarez just going into that 36. While we don't know what Matt Tiff's health situation is.
So 100% NASCAR also asks, what drivers do you think are in the hot seat for next season? and I'll actually give an answer for this because speculation and whatnot. But I think we've seen with the whole Hemrick situation and others that there is a pressure on new folks to really start, Suarez as well, to start showing results quickly and more quickly than we've seen in years past. And so if you're talking about hot seat, you might be thinking about somebody like Jimmy Johnson, but I think Jimmy Johnson he gets to decide when
he's got carte blanche.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And you might talk 100%. About Kevin Harvick, another one with blank check. You might talk about Kurt Busch, but I'm looking at the young guys who've been around for 1, 2, however many years, who might even have had some success. But we'll see with and we haven't seen that kind of turnover in like Hendrick. So I'm not saying like a Bowman necessarily, but I think the young guys are the ones who really have to be on their game and show that they belong in this series and not get beat by the guys who are fixing to retire because of age or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would think Eric Jones might be a little nervous about what his next contract status is with Joe Gibbs.
That's where I was going to go. I was going to say Eric Jones. Yeah.
I think he's run quite well. I think he's acquitted himself, but he isn't winning races, and the other 3 people in his stable are ruling the series
in the championship.
All of them.
Yeah. So I'm going with the young guys. I think that's across the board. Now, CJ, you know how PTM is. We love fun questions. We love hanging out, and we're not the hard hitters, right? We don't do that. I'm fixing to do that.
All right, off we go.
Okay.
So forgive me.
Rusty's about to hit me in the face with a baseball bat.
Forgive me on this one, but I'll start with facts. Right? Here's the facts: is between 2015 and today, we saw a 51% decrease in viewership for the Miami race for Homestead.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. It went from 7.5 to like 3 point something, right? Million people, that is, for the finale. CJ, what is Fox doing that's going to bring these folks back? That hey, I'll this is where I'll throw the bone. You need to watch this Daytona 500.
That very good question. I really think our digital presence is going to be very beneficial when it comes to how we present the Daytona 500 to the streamers, to the people that actually, how often I watch TV on my actual television? Very rarely. How often I watch television on my phone? Almost 100%. And if we are using our TV, it's so I can Chromecast what's on my phone to my television. So we've got to hit those people. Everyone has their streaming content that, Disney Plus just launched, and there's Hulu and there's Netflix, and we've got to make sure that these cord cutters have a way to watch and be counted as watching the Daytona 500. And I really think that, and not just to toot my own horn, that the digital team is going to be what helps us for the Daytona 500, but our digital presence is next level for the NASCAR side on the Fox digital team. And we are going to get the word out. And I really think that's going to be beneficial for the 2020 Daytona 500 because they've got someone on that team that the day of Homestead wrote 91 days until Daytona on their whiteboard. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
And so if there is a NASCAR fanboy or purist to help tell people that they should be watching the Daytona 500, it's me. And so they're going to let me tell people why they should watch the Daytona 500, and I think it's going to work.
I'll tell you what, I feel like it's a shame that so many fewer people were watching, because if you were watching, and I hate to go to the competing group here, CJ, but the whatever they call it, it's not Track Pass. What do they call it on NBC? The multi-view thing.
Oh,
their multi view screen that they have.
Yes.
They
hey,
call that
what?
hot.
I think they
call
did
that
call
hot
it Track Pass.
Hot Pass. That's
Hot
what it was.
Pass.
Hot
Yeah.
Pass.
But they
Yeah.
only showed it this weekend.
Right, but they did it on
Yeah.
NBC Sports.
And they bought but they bought it from DirecTV. That's the thing. DirecTV
Yeah.
used to have that.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, that is, as a fan, that is how I want to watch the race. That's how I want to see it, is look at all these camera angles that we have. Look at all this stuff. You can put this piece in the bottom corner or whatever. You have Lee Diffie talking with whoever.
By the way, Lee Diffie rules.
Yeah. Yeah. So to your point, CJ, being able to see whether it's and I think digital is the key here, because I could way easier put that on my laptop or put that on my phone or something and be watching that sort of stuff. I think that's the future of where we're going. Give me all the insider. Give me all that stuff.
Multiple camera angles.
Yeah.
We all have 50-inch TVs now. We don't need.
That's a good point. That's a good point. The main race on my TV was still probably 30 inches, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everything else that was going on, I got to see all that. I had that on the main TV. Now I have two TVs in my living room. We've talked about this, Sherwin. So do you. So I had the broadcast on like the TV 2, but TV 1 was
same.
let's watch
me
it.
too. I have a 32-inch TV. I had the main broadcast on a 32-inch TV that's old, but still shows a great picture. And on the 55-inch, I had Hot Pass.
Right.
Because you could see everything
Right.
that you wanted to see.
Love that.
Sarah just said in Des Moines, Iowa, they show the Daytona 500 at a movie theater, and I am super jealous. Well, see, the thing is, though, I wonder how many theaters do that, because that probably only counts as one viewer, but they could have 200 people in that movie theater. So I'm going to need some updated movie theater numbers for the Daytona 500 viewers.
I think to your point is we have to figure out how to count the numbers better, because I don't think that the way we've counted viewers, I don't think that's the same thing
Especially
anymore.
as we move into digital. Yeah.
Yeah, the more we get into digital, I don't think the numbers actually represent what the actual numbers are, because I think people are watching phones.
Well, because when they report TV viewership, it doesn't always. Sometimes it does, but it does not always include the additional digital viewers that may have watched that on their phone, or may have watched that.
So
Hulu has live sports now; those don't always get counted. So I think there might. Not saying that I don't think that they missed 50%, right? They didn't. But I do think that there's an opportunity to make sure that all of these streamers and phone watchers and laptop watchers are being counted correctly. But having alternative ways to consume the Daytona 500 is a priority for me in the off season, to make sure that we have those products available for people that watch alternatively.
Absolutely. I mean, you have got to approach the cord cutters. I think the biggest problem we have now is the way the television industry works, in that the only thing that matters to the television companies is the Nielsen ratings, because that's how they sell value of commercials. So we have to figure out how we expand the boundaries of bringing in all of the data of who's watching to sell the value of those commercials. Otherwise, I mean, that's the only way this thing works. It's a business.
Well, and the thing is too, though, like if you're streaming, like let's say we have an alternative product on the Fox Sports app that has all these different camera views and live, and constant coverage and no commercial breaks and that sort of thing. So you're a viewer, but they can't use the people that are viewing it the way you are to sell value for commercials, because you're not watching the commercials, because you're watching the alternative product without commercials on it. So that's basically another hurdle that we have to figure out. How do we monetize the alternative viewers and that sort of thing?
Absolutely.
I
think that's why you use banners like the way they do it in soccer.
Sure. I feel proud because I worked in that media space for 15 years, and Sherwin just succinctly put the exact problem, if you will, that media companies are facing right now in terms of the advertising dollars, the digital, everything else that's going on. That is the problem that folks are trying to solve right now. And I am, like I said, I'm proud.
Rusty taught me well.
Y'all, let's do this. Let's gas it up. Here it is. Last time this season, gassing it up because we're going to nowhere for NASCAR, but we are going to Turkey Day. CJ,
What if we make picks for the Snowball Derby? Well, maybe we should wait.
Probably a little early, but
I haven't seen the entry list yet. So,
but CJ,
I'm just gonna pick Chris. Can I just go ahead and pick Christopher Bell? Like, can I just?
Yes.
Can I go ahead and
I don't
pick
even know.
Bubba Pollard?
Yeah.
Yes, you can do all those things, fellas. Start with CJ. What's going on for Thanksgiving for you?
For Thanksgiving, this year's a little different. I've been at home in Lee County, Virginia, every year for Thanksgiving now, going on 33 years, right? But this year, my wife's work schedule is a little different than it has been in the past. So for the first time ever, CJ's actually going to be in Charlotte for Thanksgiving. It's going to be me, my wife, and my sister-in-law here, and they've both got to work on Thanksgiving or that night, and so we've got some big plans for our meal. But I'm actually going to be in Charlotte, just me, my wife, and Nikki for this Thanksgiving.
So we already talked
And my
about
mom's watching, and that's going to make it real. And now she's sad again. So.
But yeah, we already talked about it a bit. But hey, at old Rusty's house, Thanksgiving happens here. And so folks are
Nice.
coming over. I'm doing the smoked bird. I'm doing the dressing. I'm doing several different things. Me and the wife, we totally nerded out. Like, I sent her an email that said, Nerd Thanksgiving. And I said, let's go ahead and enumerate all of our dishes so that we don't have any scope creep in what we're trying to do here. And we have it planned out. Now, I send that out to her. Now, she's an event planner for a living. And she went over the top, right? I mean, straight up, Sylvester Stallone, or was it Stallone that was in that movie? Yeah, over the top, baby.
Oh, I was going to say over the top. I was going to say, did Dusty Rhodes come off the top ropes?
Oh man, yeah, Dusty Rhodes come flying in. Sylvester Stallone moved the hand over, and she sent me a breakdown in her format that she does for events of like.
She sent you a Gantt chart?
Minute by minute Gantt chart of exactly what's going in the oven, what's going on. Here's what's happening. I was like, you know what? This is why I married this woman.
Yeah.
We are on the same. I was like, we're on the same. Doing the whole eyeball to eyeball two finger thing. Like, hey, we're on the same page here. So we're having a nerd out Thanksgiving, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
I like it.
Yeah. Well, PETM Patreon contributor Eric Kepner's wife invited me to Thanksgiving with her family, and so I'm going to go do that. And
that's awesome.
It's going to be fun because I'm not going to have any responsibilities whatsoever.
Well, there's that part too.
And then, hey, you know what? We're going to show up at like 9:30 at downtown Atlanta, and we're going to watch football.
We're going to watch Georgia Tech.
Probably get their ass kicked by
football
Georgia.
game.
I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, it's what it is.
So more sad Georgia noises. Is that,
Yeah, for us at least.
You know what? That we don't get too caught up in it.
We'll take our medicine. It's okay. It's all good. CJ,
All right.
Close us out. Tell the folks what's going on, where they can find you next, what's happening.
Well, one thing that I was thinking of, I went back and listened to the last episode that I was on just so that I could see if I did for sure say that Kyle was a threat for the championship, which I did. But that was the show before Martinsville. And then I think the show before the last show that I was on was the show before Bristol. So I always come on the PETM podcast when I'm going to be attending the next NASCAR race. And the next NASCAR race is Daytona.
By God.
Which I will
Daytona.
absolutely be at. And so less than 79 days, I will be in Florida for the 2020 Daytona 500. And I'm already excited. I'm already counting down. Hot Pass, the Fox Sports version of Hot Pass is going to be there We'll be taking you behind the scenes all throughout Speed Weeks. We're going to be showing you things that you've never seen before for the Daytona 500. It's going to be a lot of fun. Follow NASCAR on Fox for all of our off-season content. We've got a fun strategy that you guys are going to enjoy. And also, join our Facebook group. It is our official fan council.
Ooh.
It's called Fox Sports. It's called Fox Sports Victory Lane. And all you got to do is send a request to join, and I will approve that request, and you can be a part of the fan council. And we're going to use that. We're going to source that community to kind of help us plan for the 2020 season. So be a part of the Facebook group. Again, it's Fox. Just search for Fox Sports Victory Lane, and we'll let you in there. But I'm CJ Wooliver. You can find me at CJ Wooliver. That's Oliver with a W in front of it, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Send me a friend request. Let's be friends.
And y'all know what the deal is. Y'all can find us, PTM
And make
Podcast.
sure that you retweet the YouTube link on Twitter too. I'm gonna send somebody a hat.
There it is.
Yeah.
And,
Andy Petrie on Michael Waltrip Unfiltered.
Please. PTMPodcast.com, at PTM Podcast. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you, CJ Wooliver. I'll say it right one time, for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, can't wait to talk to y'all next week, whatever it is, however I say it. As always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, at Tailgate Mayor.
And I am Andrew Sherwin, pregame engineer at Andrew L. Sherwin on the Instagram. And we've got Tori and Corey to do a football preview for Georgia Tech.
Oh, it's going to be a blast next week. We'll talk to y'all then. Have a good one. See ya. In the books. CJ.
Close it out.
Woo!
All right, CJ. So you're still being recorded.
I know.
He knows. He's in now. He's got.
I think he's got to figure it out.
got on the download.
I messed that up the first time, but I won't. I've learned my lesson.
So next week we've got Tori McElwaney, who is a Georgia graduate, but is the beat writer for Georgia Tech for The Athletic.
Awesome.
And then we have a comedian named Corey Forrester, who is part of the Well-Read comedy troupe.
From the liberal redneck, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that those guys?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
man. I am an old school liberal redneck fan. Like I loved his content before they started that Well-Read tour, before he moved out to California. So tell him that the PETM doctorate CJ Wooliver is a very big fan.
I'd be glad to do it. We're big
That's
fans. And we're going to talk about football mostly, but Corey has been very generous to us. We've had almost everybody. We've had everybody except Trey from the Well-Read troupe on the show.
Yeah, well, that's I'm sure he'll come around. He'll come around. I'll send him a DM from Fox. Hang on.
I asked Corey on DM. I was like, "Is Trey like impossible to get in touch with?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right." But Tori, so here's the funny thing that makes it like a connection deal. The reason why we wanted to have Tori and Corey on the same time is Tori's dad was the football coach at Chickamauga High School that Corey played with.
Oh, that's
or
awesome.
played for. And they don't know each other because they're about 10 years apart. Tori's like 23 and Corey's like 33. But they both agreed about 2 months ago that doing a preview of the Georgia Tech game might be fun. And they both confirmed today that they will be on.
Awesome.
So that's fun.
Everybody watches that. And I feel bad. Like at the beginning of the show, we were talking about Hermie, and we were having the accent talk and that sort of stuff. And I meant to mention it during the actual show, but I can mention it to the PETM After Dark.
Oh yeah, this is After
YouTube.
Dark. Yeah.
And what an incredible career Hermie Sadler has had, and I hate to lose him, but that's a guy that's been doing it for been doing it for decades.
You know what?
We've seen our last pit report from Hermie Sadler, and it's kind of sad.
You know what? And we didn't. I forgot to mention that in the notes so that we could talk about it, and we'll do it next week because you won't find any bigger Hermie Sadler fans anywhere than us.
Yeah,
we love Hermie Sadler, and we're going to miss him.
He's a trucks guy. I consider myself a trucks guy. Virginia boys, like I've always really enjoyed working with Hermie. So
it's one of the things we thought was so funny when we asked him who had the best Virginia accent, and he didn't even skip a beat. I mean, it was like a beat and a half, and he goes, Ward Burton.
Right.
Yep.
Like,
you know what I
and Hermie's got a great Virginia accent.
Full disclosure, and this is going to break your heart. I may have given him a heads up about that question before he went on the show. So.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
We talked about PETM on pit road at Martinsville.
Oh my gosh,
me and Hermie. So
dude,
just so you know.
No, you didn't.
You're gonna make me cry a little bit right here. Like I'm gonna cry.
Well, so we stood in line because there's like a side window for people with hard cards that are like working that want hot dogs, and I was standing there in line to get hot dogs, and Hermie came up and didn't want to stand in line, so I bought his hot dogs for him so he could just. And so we walked straight over to pit road because it was almost time for pre-race ceremonies. And we stood there and ate Martinsville hot dogs and talked about how I was on the show last week and he was on the upcoming show and how you guys were fun and he would enjoy the podcast and that sort of thing.
Dude,
you don't even understand how cool we think that is. You'll never understand.
Yep. Well, it's always been fun working with Hermie, and so I want to make sure I at least mention that in the YouTube section here. So.
Oh my man!
Well, I appreciate you doing that because most of the reason why we do this is because Rusty and I really enjoy doing this, and it's a hobby and it's fun, but the reason why we get to talk to awesome people like you and Hermie and whoever else,
Bob Levine, is because other people like what we're talking about. And
yeah, well, it's fun. I don't do a lot of these things, honestly. I'm trying to think. I know I've done it. Well, I did Gluck's podcast. Right,
Gluck is awesome,
that was last year when I was on Gluck's podcast because that was back when it was just an independent podcast. It was just he could pick his guests and that sort of thing. The podcast went with him whenever he went to his new gig, but I was on there. There was one other one and it's bad, but I can't remember the name of it or which one it was. But I basically do PETM just because you guys are fun. I can get on here and talk and know that. You know, if I say something weird that people aren't going to roast me too hard in the comments because I think I've at least earned I've earned some goodwill with this group, I think, and I've enjoyed it. I really have.
Well, you absolutely have earned all the goodwill that would be necessary to be in our space, no, without a doubt. But the fact that you and Hermie, I don't know that you will ever understand how heartfelt it is to hear.
We're going to talk about that after the show's over and everything.
You say that you and Hermie talked about being on PTM in a space where we weren't even there.
Well, and that's what Freddie did that last week. Freddie or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, he said he was in Texas back when when the race was in Texas a few weeks ago, and he saw Bob Levine. At some meet and greet. And he goes, "Hey, I heard you're going to be on PTM next week." And Bob Levine's like, "Who the hell are you? And who the hell is that?" Wow, right. That's amazing. Yes, I am going to be, but that's cool to for somebody in person, third person, like Sherwin's saying.
Yeah, we're putting our veins out there. We're doing our best, but at the end of the day, we can only be what we are.
Hey, we started as, which is two dudes sitting around drinking beer talking about NASCAR.
Pretty much.
Well, it's just, and that comes across with you guys. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it is genuine, but that comes across, and you guys, you're fans hanging out with other fans, talking about the thing we're all fans of. So just so you know, you're onto something good here. I like it, and I'm glad that I'm a part of it.
My man.
Well, we appreciate you saying yes, CJ, and I appreciate you reaching out and asking to do a spot, and then ended up taking the whole show.
Yeah, well, it makes me happy. But to everybody watching now too, I went and checked the schedule. Monday, December 2nd is the Race Hub Fans Choice Awards show, and not to give anything away, but you guys helped vote. You guys helped vote for something from the last episode that I was on, and that may or may not have been successful. So everybody, make sure they watch that Race Hub
Oh,
episode.
crap. That's awesome.
No kidding. All right.
Yeah.
And P.S., the episode is now up on iTunes. That's
Nice.
just how quick we do it, because I refuse to do
We don't edit it around here.
out of laziness and whatever else.
Well, I only said 2 cuss words, right? I think I said the S word or the D word once.
No. I mean, I know I said ass and damn, but
Mom, what cuss
you know.
know. Did he say? I know I didn't say that.
Well,
We gotta count
I think I said a couple ones that weren't AM
You're
safe. We try to stay AM safe when we can, but I mean, we had Drew Morgan, right, from the Well Read guys.
Mm-hmm.
He said the F word 20 times when he was on with us,
Yeah, he was.
and nobody said a word. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Because it never distracted from what the content was. And that's an important piece of the puzzle.
It's an expletive. So
Yeah.
use it when you need something to be expleted.
Right. Don't just say it to be saying it. And that's why we've listened to a bunch of podcasts or people that are doing stuff like us. And they just cuss and cuss and cuss. And you're like, God almighty. Like, Rusty and I have the filthiest language you could ever record when we're not recording.
Right.
Like when we're sitting on the couch watching football or racing,
Yeah.
it is bad. But when we're like, all right, let's get on the mic. Like, if you think, a bomb is necessary, use it. Or if it just popped.
I grew up, my first real job was at 16, and it was live FM radio. And so that there are a lot of words that the FCC does not
FM's
deem
tough.
appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of, my formative years were spent making sure that I only said things that were FCC appropriate. So I've kind of, I grew up with that. So I'm kind of the opposite, but that makes me sort of perfect for jumping on and sounding natural, I think, sometimes on these mics, because that's how I talk. This is just how I sound, all the time.
know.
So it works out.
We've got friends with kids. We got, we go back home and whatnot, and it's all that.
Yep.
So we know where to turn on and off. So not a big deal. CJ,
It's actually not that hard.
no, it's not. It's not, unless you're just completely out of your mind.
Thank you to everybody in the comments on YouTube being so nice to my mom. They're all calling her Mrs. Wolliver and being super nice. So I appreciate you guys. The internet isn't always nice, but you guys are always very nice to my mom. So thank you.
Oh yeah, and Sarah and Bari, just to dig deeper in this ditch, just said that Denny said shit.
Denny said shit, and one of was it the truck race where the guy said fuck?
Yeah.
He said, "You fucking rule ass," or something
that was Xfinity, and that was Custer.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
And
the announcer was like, sorry.
Yeah,
Like,
y'all deal with this now.
Why'd you even apologize? Because, the last time the F word got dropped on a NASCAR broadcast was during a cup race, and they just didn't even address it.
Whatever. You're watching the cup race. People get excited.
NASCAR fans say fuck.
Well, and it's people getting emotional and excited and all that. So you like to hear that in bits and pieces and in context and whatnot.
Well, what CJ said is, you say it when it matters.
Yeah.
Just say it when it matters.
Yeah. That's cool.
To exclaim things, but my voice carries, and the poor wife's trying to go to sleep, so I'm gonna let her sleep, and I'm gonna sign off with you guys. But
My man.
thank you all so much for having me every time.
Thank you, buddy. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you hanging out with us.
It'll happen again, I promise you.
Yeah, I know. So let me come on early 2020 so I can, when we actually have some concrete Daytona plans, and I can talk about all that stuff.
That sounds
Well,
good.
that might be the time that we have you and Nate on at the same time, because he asked for January as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down.
That'd be fun. CJ, happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.
Peace out, man.
Thanks, CJ.
Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, CJ Wooliver, if I can say it right for one time. Total blast. That was fun. We're going to go ahead and shut this thing down. We're already on iTunes. We're on Twitter. I posted it there. I think everything.
We still have 14 followers on YouTube.
Thank
you guys
y'all for
are
hanging
awesome.
out.
Woo!
PTM Posse.
Love y'all.
Yeah. Love you to death. Let's go ahead and close it down. Sherman?
All right.
Good times. And next week, we don't, NASCAR might be taking some time off, but we ain't fixing to take no time off.
Oh, yeah.
It might be Turkey Day, but hey, we've got some preview stuff to do. It's this is where we just get off the rails and just start doing crazy stuff.
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
So, y'all NASCAR folks, just remember that during the off season, we start getting weird. We might talk about football. We're definitely going to have Georgia Henneberry back on to do the Chili Bowl preview.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's awesome.
Good call.
And then, who knows what's going to happen in the next 11 weeks. But it's going to be fun.
Yep. Good times. PTM Posse. We'll catch y'all later.